Hello, Bat here for RPG Day 2019, the final summary video. This is prompts 25 to 31, and due to my bad setup and inability to do an eyeline whilst reading off the screen, so I'm using my mobile. So, prompt 25 was Calamity. I love epic calamities in my role-playing games, the exploration of the lore, the debates, and the ramifications of those events. Whether it's the Shadowlands in Legend of Five Rings, the Galatea explosion in Aberrant, the annihilation of Paris and large chunks of Europe in Trinity, the World of Warcraft The Sundering, Lord of the Rings, obviously the battles over the Ring and Mount Doom itself, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, the Pole with the warp gates there, the Eye of Terror in 40k, Cyberpunk 2020 itself being an actual horrible society really, and the same with World of Darkness, again the whole world being pretty terrible. The Spell Plague and Forgotten Realms amongst others, the Cataclysm in Dragonlance, the Scourge in Earthdawn, and obviously other settings have similar calamities. Now, I've been working on my own role-playing game for a while now, technically over 10 years really, which has metamorphosized over the years and is eventually turned into Flow Fighters, and that doesn't actually really have any calamities in it, although I am sort of writing up options that players could use if they wanted to explore calamities as well, both in the past and forthcoming. So, prompt 26, ideas. Ideas love company, as that slight alteration of the song lyrics go, misery loves company. Don't know why I'm explaining that. Like most, all role players, I enjoy the fun of pondering an ever-growing pool of ideas, from generating new ones, fusing existing, using, tweaking to anything not used in one game being postponed and used in another. And obviously with RPG design, the same thing. The only issue being with so many, deciding which to actually focus on, what mechanics and what setting things are important. Especially since there's so many great games out there these days, it's like, well, why are you adding to the collection of role-playing games if it's just to rehash what everybody else is doing? Prompt 27, suspense. I particularly love music that utilises momentary breaks. And by that I mean long breaks, not just, between the beats and that kind of aspect. I think of role-playing games in the same way, break up a scene's rhythm mood. Being all mysterious and establishing states can capture one definition of suspense, a state of mental indecision. Whilst not an inherently bad thing, it can overwhelm some. Whilst offering options and a cut-off, A or B or and then going silent, I think nicely captures the other definitions, undecided or doubtful condition, plus degree of apprehension or anxiety. I'm now trying to think of a famous song that has dramatic pauses in there, but I can't, never mind. Prompt 28, love. Years of role-playing game design for Elemental Masters, which was the thing I was working on after leaving KGC Games. It's a PBM engine. Unfortunately, I wanted to program psychology, so ignore that. And that's eventually turned to Flow Fighters. This inspired me to carry out in-character research at a live-action role-playing game, Lorien Trust, and that was between the Love and Adrea, which is technically the planet, or really a dragon. It was a lot of fun in character, and chatting different people, and bonus seeing some pretty long-time players excited at something different. Even got my research carried out for free because the Library of Adrea was so impressed. I've written also, I'll put links in, for a previous love story in Changing the Dreaming that was really impressive. One of my favourite sessions ever. Actually, campaigns overall. Prompt 29, evolve. I love explorations of character evolution. Understandably, most tabletop role-playing games keep this as a fast and loose aspect, as opposed to a complex and likely restrictive system. For example, Aberrant touches on Nova powers developing along thematic lines, but there is no specified system. Again, likewise, many superhero games, you sort of fit within a theme, but you're not restricted in like a tree path, or some sort of complex skill tree. One fantasy roleplay in the realms of chaos, the fun of random chaos, pun intended. I enjoyed part of the reason why I liked coming back to Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition was due to the system complexity, you could say bloat, that quickly emerged with all the add-ons as well. It was fun when the players in my playtest of Elemental Masters found out the sort of scale of the game and the fact they could evolve their characters along different paths. More than just powers, also psychological, sort of thought paths and approaches to things. but it was a bit too much, and without a database to actually manage it properly because of health, I've not completed that. So I've done a stripped down version for Flow Fighters. It doesn't need a PBM software to manage it. Prompt 30, connection. I enjoy spending time pondering how everything connects, particularly games like Mage Dissension, Dungeons & Dragons Planescape, Legend of the Five Rings, Call of Cthulhu, particularly when it comes to the Dreamlands. I love exploring the web of connections between characters, societies, etc., and finding the less travelled strands. Last, the verb to persist. Prompt 31. RPGs have been big business for a long time, especially if you can include computer role-playing games in this. Role-playing games are definitely not at risk, especially in our connected world. Even if they're banned in one country, the world will carry on regardless. More than survive, in fact, an open hobby means more creativity, more people, more voices, and of course role-playing therefore will keep growing and will last. And that's it for RPG Day 2019. Hopefully these videos weren't too awful, and same again next year. Bye.